931.
639-931.
Good evening. I'm Socrates, Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening, and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi. We're broadcasting from the deep, deep South, Mississippi, my hometown. I always say that in Mississippi, the air is just a little bit cleaner and the grass is just a little bit greener. Now, we've been seen all over the world. We've been seen in over 139 countries. If you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to share this program with your friends and families and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to subscribe to support our channel. If you're watching us on our very own website, webelievedigital.com, you'll see that we are a little bit different platform. You see, with us, we're not just a page. We are, in fact, a platform. If you go to webelievedigital.com and you scroll down, you'll see a link to We Believe Radio. Our radio station is broadcasting live some of the best music that you ever wanted to hear, 24 hours a day. You can be a part of this great movement here in Jackson, Mississippi at We Believe Digital Broadcasting Studios if you call us at 800-492-5186. Now, you know that my passion is business, and that's what I've spent my life involved in since I was a little boy at 5 years old, selling mud cakes to my sisters, and I would make them buy them. And then my mother had me selling flower seeds throughout the country, so I'd be on my horseback with my sack of flower seeds and 10 cents a pack, and I would be traveling all over the country selling my flower seeds. So business was nothing new for me. It wasn't taught at the dinner table, but it was just something that was naturally in my DNA, and primarily because my father was a business person, and he never worked for anyone but himself. So he had the challenges of operating and running a business, and as a little boy, I had no idea what that required. And many of you out there today that are running businesses today have no idea what all is required in operating and maintaining a business. We're going to talk about some of those things as we go on in a daily series, so you know how we impact African Americans that are struggling with the basics on how you set up and run a business. Now today I have as my guest one of my accountants, Rosalind Burke, that has joined us today. She is an accountant and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself, and we're so glad to have you on the show today, Rosalind.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. I'm Rosalind. I'm from Kosciuszko, Mississippi. Came down here to Jackson State, and I've been here ever since. And I've been working with Mr. Garrett since 2019.
Check that camera right there, Rosalind. That one over there is going to be your better look. Now, you've been working with me for 2019. That's a long time.
It is.
A lot of changes have gone on in Garrett Enterprises over the last 5 years.
Indeed, it has.
It has. We were a firm of over 100 employees not long ago, and now we don't have nearly that many. And I know from your perspective, having to do payroll and other things, that's not a problem.
It's not.
Tell us a little bit about businesses, small businesses, and specifically African American owned businesses, where there may be one or two people that are running the shop. What are the kinds of things that they need to be aware of, that they need to put in place to run that business from a financial standpoint?
They definitely need an accountant. They need someone that's going to handle payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable.
Those are the main ones. And tell us a little bit about taxes and sales taxes and payroll taxes. Is that important?
That is very important. That is crucial, especially when it comes down to handling the payroll tax, the quarterly payroll taxes. And as you know, that the sales tax is due by the 20th the following month, and the Mississippi state tax is due by the 15th. So definitely, those are definitely important. All taxes are important.
So a small business person must have a relationship with an accountant.
Yes.
Is a banker is necessary as an accountant? Which one is more important to that business?
You're going to need both, but the accountant is going to be doing more of the processing your payrolls and doing your financial side. The banking part is where your money is going to be deposited to, so you need both of them to function.
And what kind of software are you using currently in terms of managing day-to-day operations?
Currently, I use QuickBooks. I have access to Xero. I've also had access to Sage. But majority is QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop.
Now, the other two I've not heard of, so that's something new for me. I guess that's software programs like QuickBooks. They do basically the same thing. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned QuickBooks and you mentioned online versions and the desktop version. And what's the difference there?
The desktop version has less, I believe it has less functions than the online version. Mm-hmm. It's like different tweaks here and there that are different from the online. But I prefer the online because online version, you can be in Texas and still be able to log in. Desktop, you might not be able to log in on desktop, because especially if you're at a company setting and on the desktop and it's only on that computer. Mm-hmm. So you can only access it from that computer. Versus online, you can be at home, log in, and log into your information. Okay. So I understand that in my desktop version, I do a lot more job costing. Now, typically, when you say setting up a business, a set of books for a business, you mention those components that are tremendously important, like accounts receivables and accounts payables, and then you went on to talk about the banking and the taxes and the things of that nature. Now, accounts receivable. What is an accounts receivable versus an accounts payable? Accounts receivable is money that's coming into the business, and accounts payable is money that's going out of the business. What you're paying the vendors or people on your payroll.
So in the business cycle, everything, I guess, begins with a sale. So at that point in time, walk me through the process of when an accountant is notified that there has been a transaction. What happens in your books?
Normally, when you receive a sales, you're going to record it as a revenue.
So you record the sale as revenue in your accounting books. And that's a credit to sales.
Correct.
And then what's the other half of that entry?
You're going to debit the bank.
So you're
to
going
increase your bank.
Yeah. So you're either doing that or you're going to debit your accounts receivables over on that side. So when we start out, then we have a sale where in our accounting system we credit the sales or the revenue account, and on the traditional side, if nobody didn't pay you right then you are debiting your books on the accounts receivable side. And so that it's this 2-column accounting is something that was very basic in the very beginning. And the principles of it remain the same today, even though software has made some gigantic improvements in terms of the time requirements to process all these entries. So as we just said, and Rosalind just said, that we have a sale transaction, which is the very first thing that has to occur in a business. Otherwise, everybody is waiting for that. There's nothing to post in an account, and there's nothing to deliver, there's nothing to manufacture. There's nothing that can happen until there is a sales transaction. And there are all kinds of different methods of sales that can occur. It could be by a sales order, it could be by a purchase order, it could be about various mechanisms. So we do that. So then this entrepreneur that's sitting there now and made their very first sale, and they put that in their accounting system in QuickBooks, and then one day, hopefully sooner than next, but a check came in. And so when the check came in, what happened then in your books?
You receive it. You click on the customer and receive the payment.
You receive a payment.
And normally it goes to undeposited funds until you actually make the deposit to the bank, and then we'll release it to go to the bank.
Now that's something that we starting up individuals out there wouldn't have any way of knowing what you're talking about in terms of an undeposited funds. Because when I get my money, and I assume that it just goes in my account. Right. And so, but in your books, you're saying that it could go to
undeposited funds, and then once we see it clear the bank, then we'll put it into the bank account.
Okay, so what she's doing here is making absolutely certain that her bank reconciliations and her bank account is lined up in an agreement with her QuickBooks account. Let's tell you how that could be different. So someone gave you this check and you made out the deposit slip to put it into the bank, but you didn't take it that day. You put it in your briefcase, and that check and that deposit slip is in your car. So in your books, in your accounting books, if you had put it in as a deposit to the bank account because you made the deposit slip out, you would assume that the money is in the bank. But next week when you go over there and look for the funds in the bank, they never got there. So now you're on this witch hunt to see where these dollars are.
What happened? Did you go to the bank?
Did you go to the bank or did you not go to the bank? And many times those of us in small businesses realize that we can't go straight to the bank to make a deposit. It's going to be 2 or 3 days before we can get there. Unless your account is already overdrawn, then you try to get there as quick as you possibly can. So to make certain that this reconciliation occurs between your QuickBooks, your accountant books, and your bank statement, then we have those funds go into undeposited funds in the accounting system. And then once the accountant sees a receipt that shows...
Yes, then we can go ahead and put it in there. Then everything should match.
So she is not going to move those funds into the bank account until you bring her back a deposit slip stamped by the bank Because you could have changed the amount, she gave it to you, but you could have reduced the number, changed the deposit slip. You could do all kind of crazy things, and she wouldn't know unless she saw what that deposit the bank said it received. Now, I know you think that never happens, but it happens every day. And so once she sees that, then she goes back and relieves the undeposited funds account.
Correct.
And moves the money then in your book into your bank account.
Correct.
Now, we're going to have a series of shows that are designed to help small business people, and we're going to talk about the issues, and we welcome your calls at 800-492-5186. If you want to share in these discussions and these programs and tell us about some of the creative ways and the new technology that's out there that's helping small business people manage their accounts. We're going to talk about the impact of online accounting, QuickBooks in particular, versus desktop, and we're going to talk about job costs, and et cetera, et cetera. Rosalind, many times when we get ready to go in business, we are required to do a budget.
We are.
Now, that budget is your best expectations of what's going to happen.
Within your business, correct.
So you budget what you think the revenue is going to be by month. Mm-hmm. Some people may do it even by day, I don't know. But by month for sure, throughout 12 months a year. And then you budget all of your expenses.
Correct, because you don't want to have more expenses than you have revenue, then you're going to be in the red, and you don't want to be in the red.
You don't want to be in the red.
You do not want to be in the red.
The red is a bad thing. And most businesses operate in the red for a period of time. And certainly when you first start out, you've had some expenses before you got that first sale, so you technically are in the red the day you start. And so, but you clearly don't want a budget to be in the red. If you do a budget, and let's talk about some of the line items in the budget. And so the first category is always going to be that first thing we talked about, and that's sales, revenue. Then we're going to talk about the expense side. So then we have another category that is called cost of goods sold. Now, cost of goods sold minus your revenue gets us to a category that we call gross profit. Now, it's critically important that we budget these things. For example, if I'm selling an item that costs $20, but it costs me $21, then and I'm budgeting that we're going to be profitable, we're not going to make it. And so we budget every line item into cost of goods sold, freight. We budget production costs, printing costs, administrative costs, salary and wages costs, taxes and burden costs. We budget all those things, and then we project what sales is going to look like this upcoming year. And if when you finish your budget, you're seeing that you're losing money, what are you supposed to do then, Russell?
You're going to have to come up with another game plan. Because that one is not working.
And so
make some changes.
You got to make some changes. And so what she's saying to us is that we can't make that thing work to our benefit if the numbers don't look right in the budget. So she's saying, stop right there. Let's get a new game plan on how we are going to be able to sustain our business. Now, there aren't but two ways to do that I'm aware of. One is that you have to increase revenue. You have to say, I'm going to sell more and increase revenue that covers all of these expenses I got.
Correct, or either cut costs.
So she is just saying that the second part of that solution may be to cut costs. Cutting costs means reducing your expenses.
Correct.
And sometimes in a small business, in a startup business, reducing expenses always seems to land on not paying the owner.
We definitely want to pay the owner, though.
We definitely want to, but
you're correct. It does sometimes lean towards where the owner may not get a check that week or something. They'll sacrifice their check in order for their employees to get paid sometimes, and often too often. So, we're going to have that. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this, how to fix this budget problem. And we're going to talk about how to finance this business using non-traditional sources of revenue. Because as a startup, you're not going to be able to go to the bank and get a loan to run your business, even though you got this budget laying out here on paper and it all looks good. You still don't have the startup capital that's required for you to get started. So there's going to have to be some ingenuity done in terms of how you fund this particular startup. I want you to stay tuned with us. We're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to talk a little bit more about businesses and the kinds of things that is up against, as We Believe Digital attempts to bring you information and solutions that you can use that will help us gain parity in this economy. If you ask America what is the number one priority for the voting populations today in the upcoming presidential race, it's going to always be the economy. The economy is the number one priority. And so in African American businesses, the number one priority for us has got to always be the economy. Now, we don't talk about it a lot in churches and in schools, but it is the thing that makes the difference in the quality of life and your ability to go on vacation, your ability to have good health care, your ability to send your children to college. It's all wrapped up in the economy. And so we're going to talk about how we move our business into the mainstream economy in shows to come. Rosalind, I want to thank you for being with me today. I certainly enjoyed it. I look forward to you sharing with our audience again. Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been watching Socrates Garrett Live, broadcasting from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in an African-American owned broadcasting studio. We want you to stay tuned and come back and share again with us tomorrow. Stay safe and good day.
SocratesGarrettENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. SocratesGarrettENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.DOT grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.